Howdy, Possum Patty here, and I'm nature journaling. This is my nature journaling page for March 20th, 2020. I have my metadata, some thoughts of the day, some observations, colors of the day, a couple of flowers that were blooming next to the house, something that I was remembering as I walked down the driveway, and a little note about some lichen growing on a tree. I also wrote down the sounds of the day, which were the wind chimes and the call of the white-breasted nuthatch. So if you want to come along on the journey with me today, I'll show you how I completed this simple page in a very short time. It's such a gray day today, the first full day of spring 2020. I'm sitting on my porch doing a little nature journaling. I started my journal inside, and I started with my metadata. Metadata is information that tells you about the information that you're going to put on the page. As you can see, I put my name, Possum Patty, the date, March 20th, 2020. Where I am, I'm at home, I'm by myself. I'm calling my home today Muddy Acres because it rained last night and drizzled this morning and the yard is like a swamp. Of course, I live in the wetlands anyway. It's 59 degrees, kind of warm for the 20th of March. And the humidity right now is about 88%. I started writing some thoughts about today. Spring arrived last night about 11:50 p.m., that was 3:19, here in the northern hemisphere. It's the earliest vernal equinox in 124 years. It was a warm and wet winter, and the new season arrived with even more rain. Drizzle this morning, gray sky, soggy ground, especially here in the wet land and wet woods. Now I'm sitting watching the bird feeders. And the first bird that arrived at the suet cake was a white-breasted nuthatch. I'm going to write down a few more birds that I'm looking at right now. There's a downy woodpecker on the suet, some juncos, dark-eyed juncos on the ground, and a black-capped chickadee on the bird feeder. I'm looking out and I can see that the sky is gray. The trees are gray and brown. There's no greenery on these trees yet. The ground is very dark brown, muddy, little bit of green grass growing. And I can see some rocks off in the distance, but from where I'm sitting there is not much color. So I'm going to do that in my journal using my little portable color palette. This is a Winsor Newton palette, and using a water brush. And I'm just going to make a couple of swatches of color into my journal, and then I'll be right back. Okay, here's where I recorded the colors of the day. A very gray sky going into gray and brown tree trunks. A little swatch of green for the grass. You can see where I got some drizzle on the green swatch here. And some dark brown for the mud. Okay, now I'm going to go leave the porch and see what I can find in the yard. Maybe I'll find a little bit of color. I know there are some violas still blooming here. I would call them a sign of spring, but I know they've been blooming all winter because it was such a mild and wet winter. There's some yellow ones, some really pretty blue and yellow, and some white and purple, and some more yellow ones. I'd like to stay out here and sketch these little flowers, but it is starting to drizzle again. So maybe I will do a quick sketch in my book and then go inside and paint. Well, I sketched the violas pretty quickly on the page. I made a color notes. I'm going to paint them when I go back inside. But it seems like the drizzle is letting up just a little bit. So I'm going to walk down the driveway. You can hear the gravel crunching under my boots. We have a lot of boulders on our property, and I think these were left here 10,000 years ago during a glacier event. I'm going to take a picture of these and sketch it when I get inside, because this is a spot where a bobcat came walking up our driveway and left his mark on our territory. All right, so my page is finished. I put some watercolors on my little viola flowers. I sketched the rocks. As I was walking down the driveway, I was remembering the bobcat that came walking up the driveway and left his scent mark here next to the boulders. This happened back in December, but it was so exciting to me to watch this bobcat come through the property that every time I walk down the driveway, I think about where he left his scent here. I just love that memory, and so I decided to put it on the page today. Coming back into the house, I looked out over the woods again, and one thing that really stood out to me was the lichen on a tree. So I decided to add that in. And this is probably just a common green shield lichens, but I'll go out with my magnifier and check it out on another day. I also, beside the colors of the day, I also added the sounds of the day, and that is that the wind chimes were making music, and then the call of the white-breasted nuthatch. As you remember, I saw the white-breasted nuthatch on the suet, and there was also the downy woodpecker, the dark-eyed juncos, and the black-capped chickadee. So I listed all my birds down here, my thoughts of the day, my metadata, my colors of the day, a memory I had as I was walking down the driveway. I'm just going to call this page complete for today, and I'm going to go out tomorrow and see what else I can find. As you can see, I didn't get very far. A couple steps down the driveway and I already filled the whole page. So let's see how far I can venture out tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.